August the 26th, 1983 was almost the last day of my life. I stood on Richmond Bridge above the Thames and tossed a coin. Heads I jump in, tails I don't, well, maybe the other way around. Whatever, I lost the toss and I didn't jump in, I did something else instead. I won't go into details about that, but it's public knowledge. That was my last suicide attempt, but it wasn't my first. On balance, I'm glad, very glad that I didn't do it. And if you are contemplating doing the same thing, with or without a coin toss, I suggest you think very carefully before you do. Suicide is a very, well, surprisingly common cause of death. Not very common, but I've known personally 2 people who committed suicide. I was 27 when I tossed that coin. One of the people I knew was also 27, and if you're a musician or a music historian, the 27 Club will be something with which you're familiar. I can't really call myself a musician. I was a songwriter of sorts. You can find some of my material on my main website. I'll put a link below. The other one, I don't want to talk about her. And there's a third person. I never actually met him, but he must have been in his 40s, probably. I published a poem of his. I'll put a link to that as well. That was 1988. Suicide is a one-way ticket, whether or not you believe in the afterlife, and I don't. If I had succeeded, then, if I'd done it, the world would have been a slightly better place for my having departed. Now I like to think it is a slightly better place for my having not departed. There are quite a lot of people who are thankful that I'm still alive. There's a guy in Scotland who is a lot older than me. He's glad. The other one in Brighton, I think, is glad as well. There's a woman in Birmingham. There's a guy who was in Indianapolis. I'm not quite sure where he is now, but he's glad I'm alive. And there are a number of people in Mexico who are thankful for the work I did. Most of us can only change the world in very small ways. I like to think I've changed it in a slightly bigger way. Certainly in England and Wales, the law of defamation was changed specifically due to my activities. I'm not sure it's changed for the better, but of course with the internet now, it's the defamation is, well, it's really pointless exercise suing somebody for defamation, unless they're extremely wealthy or an organisation. But to come back to the point, if you are contemplating suicide for whatever reason, as I say, think very carefully, because it's a one-way trip and things are not usually as black as they seem. My life was over on August the 26th, 1983, to all intents and purposes, but it isn't now. I've still got a few years left, hopefully. People commit suicide for many reasons. Whatever it is, there is almost always a way through it. So if you arrive at the place I did, think very, very carefully before you toss that coin. And if you do toss the coin and lose, well, maybe best out of 3.